Headphones on, the whispers begin.
I'll never forget the smell of mildew and rust in that building. The walls were coated with graffiti, some vulgar, some artistic, and some that just made you uneasy. We'd heard about the old warehouse from a friend's brother. Supposedly, it used to be part of a slaughterhouse, but it had been abandoned for decades. The perfect place for a party. The group was typical. Mia, the one who always dared too much. Lucas, who brought the beer. Taylor, who was more interested in filming everything for his socials than in having fun. And me, limping along on crutches because of a fractured ankle from a failed skateboarding trick. I almost didn't come, but boredom got the better of me. We set up in a spacious room on the second floor. The broken windows let in enough moonlight to give the place a creepy glow. Mia was the first to suggest exploring. She always did. Lucas and Taylor followed eagerly, leaving me to hobble behind. It didn't take long to find it. A room near the back of the building, with the door barely hanging on its hinges. The air felt heavier as we stepped inside. The walls were covered in symbols I didn't recognize, pentagrams, and strange words that looked ancient. The floor was littered with rusted tools, saws, knives, and hooks, all caked in what looked like dried blood. But the worst part was the mattress in the corner, filthy and torn, surrounded by half-burned candles. Someone had been living here. "Dude, this is insane," Taylor whispered, his phone held up to record everything. Mia picked up one of the knives, its edge jagged and dangerous. "This is straight out of a horror movie." "That's not funny," I said, gripping my crutches tighter. My gut told me we shouldn't be here. Then we heard it, a scream, high-pitched and furious, echoing through the building. It wasn't one of us. We froze, exchanging panicked glances. Another scream followed, closer this time. "Run!" Mia yelled. The others bolted for the door. I tried to keep up, but crutches aren't exactly made for sprinting. By the time I reached the hallway, they were gone. The screams turned into a guttural roar, followed by heavy footsteps. I pushed myself harder, but my crutch slipped on the dusty floor, and I fell hard, the impact rattling through my body. Before I could get up, I felt a hand grab my arm, rough and calloused. I looked up to see a shadowy figure looming over me. They didn't say a word. I barely had time to register what was happening before something hard struck the side of my head. When I came to, the first thing I noticed was the heat. The room was stifling, and a red glow filled the space, casting eerie shadows on the walls. My wrists and ankles were bound, the ropes biting into my skin. The floor beneath me was cold concrete, and the air reeked of iron and something sickly sweet. I turned my head and froze. Next to me, placed deliberately as if it were some kind of centerpiece, was the head of a ram, its lifeless eyes staring into mine. Its horns were twisted and splattered with dark stains. 5 figures stood around me, their faces hidden beneath red hoods. They chanted in low, droning Latin, their voices blending into a terrifying harmony. The sound felt oppressive, pressing down on me like a weight. One of them stepped forward, holding a long knife. The blade gleamed even in the dim red light. My heart pounded as I realized what they intended to do. "No!" I screamed, struggling against the ropes. "Stop! Please!" The hooded figure ignored me. They knelt beside me, lifting the knife high above my stomach. I could feel the cold sweat dripping down my face, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Just as the knife began to descend, chaos erupted. A deafening crash came from the door as it was kicked open. Flashlights flooded the room, and voices shouted commands. "Police, drop the weapon!" The hooded figures scattered like cockroaches, but the one with the knife hesitated. I braced myself, certain the blade would plunge into me in a final act of defiance, but the officers tackled them before they could move. Hours later, I sat in the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a blanket. My friends hovered nearby, shaken but unharmed. The police told us they'd received an anonymous tip about suspicious activity in the warehouse. I should have felt relieved, but something didn't sit right. As I glanced toward the warehouse, now crawling with officers, I saw something that made my blood run cold. One of the hoods had fallen off during the scuffle. The person who had held the knife, the one who was seconds away from killing me, was a familiar face. It was Lucas, and he was smiling. Would you like to hear more creepy tales? Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any stories. Here I leave you a story that will scare you. Listen to it if you dare.